What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. Obviously, it's been a little while, 4 to 6 months or however long it's been. But
Get out of here. It's been like, what? Last year.
yeah,
Crap.
yeah, I know.
You're right.
The 4 or 5 fans that do watch, my mum, your sister, everyone's really been missing out. So thought we'd bring it back and, step back into
What
the
changed? Why has it been 4 months since we've done one?
You're just lazy. You don't really come around that much. You
Yeah.
gotta make the drive.
Yeah.
So,
No, Jake has been busy crying and then masturbating.
yeah.
Yeah. Together, in that order.
It's a,
Like that.
it's a practice of self-love, I feel like.
Practice of self-expression.
Yeah,
There would you say?
that's what it is.
Bless your heart. Well, what's been new with you, sir?
Just been working on a coaching app startup that you've seen. So working with a big business under them. They've actually decided to fund a coaching app startup. I've come in probably 12, 18 months after they've got things moving. Just been working there, helping develop and build the app from there. Obviously in the new stages as well, so I'm still learning very much.
Why don't you shout out the company? We might send them some leads.
Shout out, the app is called Core Coach. Soon I'll be repping their merch as well, so I should have... They got merch.
They're going to have merch.
Yeah.
That's good time.
Sending some hats and whatnot, so should have been wearing a Core Coach shirt, but keep an eye out for Core Coach. Hopefully be coming to the market soon, but yourself, what's been happening with you?
Not too much. I mean, I've got still the clients, still personal training and navigating that space. As of next week, I will be the manager of the personal training department at the gym that I'm at, because we had a bunch of trainers, including our manager, leave all at once. So that'll be interesting. And then an online community that's free for now, and working on that. And honestly, creating content for online module-based platforms is just tiring.
Tell us a little bit more about this online community that you've started building.
Well, to be honest, I'm still learning how to articulate it. That's what I was doing today. But I'll try my best. The idea that it tries to build on, and this is just a hypothesis. Obviously, I can't prove this, but it's just a train of thought that to me sounds reasonable. So just like we have physical laws that govern the world around us, whether it's the law of gravity or thermodynamics or biological laws like things like sleep or food or water that we must conform to, everybody has to sleep, everybody has to eat, and if you don't, you can't just decide that you don't believe in that truth. Those truths are going to exist whether or not you believe them. And if you try to ignore them, there are going to be consequences. So if you don't sleep or you don't eat, your health will deteriorate and you will get irritable, moody, anxious, all these things will come. So just like we can't create physical laws that we must abide by, the idea is that there are also spiritual and moral laws. And these laws we don't get to create. They're revealed to us over time throughout history. And if we don't conform to those laws, things like truthfulness, integrity, generosity, selflessness, then there are consequences. And those consequences usually manifest themselves as things like, anxiety, restlessness, just feeling hollow, having no meaning or purpose in life, feeling lost and disoriented. And so the idea is that if we follow those laws that we're meant to follow, if we live how we're meant to live, the same way, we should sleep the amount that we're supposed to sleep, those symptoms will go away. But a lot of people don't like to admit to the fact that maybe there are moral or spiritual laws, and that we can just create our own truth, and that any attempt to tell someone how, we should live our lives is a form of oppression. And that truth is subjective. I think that leads to quite a negative spiral. So it tries to address that, and each module just looks at one timeless principle. It might be truthfulness, forgiveness, selflessness, and explores it in depth in the form of this community. We meet together weekly online to discuss them together, and it's sort of it hasn't fully started. It's not there yet, but the idea is in the works. Jacob's actually the co-founder.
Well, who'd be the type of person that would be looking to... Who do you think would find the most value from joining the community? / who do you think would be the best person for you to have in there to help grow, kind of just build that community all together?
To be honest, anyone and everyone. I mean, I think probably superficially at surface level, it sounds like it's for people of some sort of spiritual or religious background, but it's not. Because concepts like truthfulness and honesty and the way you live, like, living a life of service to others, these principles are universal. They apply to everyone. And the consequences of not aligning to those principles also applies to everyone. Everyone's probably experienced, on paper, everything in life looking good. Like, I'm not, suffering, like nothing's, noticeably bad. But deep down, you sort of feel empty and hollow. And you have this bit of like an existential crisis that can come and manifest itself even if everything looks okay in your life. So I think it's for anyone that maybe experiences that to any degree, and they feel like they're just sort of trying to chase resolving these symptoms with like self-help strategies or therapy culture, journaling, mindset, therapy, and all these things probably have wonderful beneficial effects, but it doesn't seem to address the root issue maybe for some people. So it's, for people that want to just explore these principles with some honesty, and just have a discussion around them.
So it's not necessarily someone that's, previously religious or whatnot. It's anyone that's kind of just trying to, empower themselves more on the inside rather than just focus like on what you said, the very much like the discipline, just going on the gym, making money and whatnot, more of like the internal work.
Spot on. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, more of the internal work, less about the aesthetic of looking a particular way, and more of, how are we addressing how we're actually living in private, behind closed doors when no one can see. Okay. And addressing, some fundamental behaviors that we maybe have or don't have.
Yeah. And how did you come up with this community? Is it something you've seen like in the market? There's not much out there for the internal work because everyone's out there posting on like, how to be more disciplined, how to make more money, how to, be a better man, but no one's focusing on the internal work. Like what inspired you to create the community and have a space like this?
I would say, you either have the self-help therapy culture route, which is not really spiritual. It's more just treating everything like a mechanism. Like if you're anxious, there's a chemical dysregulation in the brain. Like it's very, very mechanical in that way. And then you've got the other side of social media, which is the airy-fairy spiritual side, which just sounds like wackadoodle.
Like the woo-woo kind of side there.
There isn't much that tries to align some sense of like, talking about spiritual principles, but in a way that's grounded in reason and logic and something that's evidence-based. So I think the desire came from that. I've been influenced by these types of ideas with my own spiritual and religious upbringing. So that's a big part of the inspiration. But then just seeing, a lack of people communicating in that way, and anxiety and depression and meaninglessness is at an all-time high, even though most people's lives are okay, So, How about yourself? What's been going on? What's new? And what would you like to do?
Obviously, like I said, I'm building this, helping build this coaching app. Obviously, learning the skills of building a product like this, the developing side as well. But I'm also still running my agency, looking to pivot into a bit of a different direction. Just because obviously I can see a bit of a gap in the market where I can provide more value. And obviously because I'm providing more value, you can receive a little bit more in return as well.
So still with Trainer Suite?
Yeah, I'll still be working with Trainer Suite. I'll have that side of the business and then I'll pivot into a bit of a different side now in kind of a new market. Just to help kind of freshen things up. Obviously I've seen the opportunity there. And like I said, I feel like I can provide a lot of value to that part of the market and it'll really take off. So it's just juggling both of those. Obviously, it definitely is hard, as you might know, trying to juggle multiple things at once, time blocking and whatnot. So, Would you have any recommendations for helping time block or getting things out of the way?
Don't ask me that. The last person to ask. You're better with managing your time than I am. Way
That's
better.
right. That's right.
I'm not saying you're amazing, so calm down. But you're way better than I am.
Yeah.
I mean, my time management is, I feel like it's gone a little bit better over time, but even then, nah, there's still so much wasted time.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I was meant to go home, finish that work. I was going to go home and just go in, shower, and then get ready to drive down south to go see Helen. And instead of that 30 minutes, going to shower and then leave, I think I was on the toilet scrolling for 30 minutes. It just happens. And I was like, snap myself out of it. I don't know how to reduce those behaviors yet, but it's like, yeah, I don't even know where it comes from.
Yeah. That's why I feel like a lot of people struggle to focus, even myself, is, you're in such everyone's in such like an ADHD heightened state because of short form like content. And so it's really hard to catch yourself out of those, You're just dopamine depleted. So, coming from spending all day scrolling on social media, hits a dopamine at every, 20, 30 seconds to then trying to work, lock in focus for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. They're impossible at that point.
Definitely helps though with people. Like every time we work together, I mean, look, granted, sometimes we both get distracted together, but it feels a lot easier to get back on track when you're with someone else who's also like-minded. I was gonna ask, how do you think your thoughts or strategies around the online agency stuff, do you feel like a lot of your ideas are influenced, because I know you've been going to Soak quite a bit, and you meet a lot of people there, a lot of which tend to be also business-minded and entrepreneurial.
That's pretty much why.
Is that why? Is there like a self-selection bias of people that go there? They're all like
pretty much because
business people.
Obviously, like someone. That's kind of the reason why me and my mate Levi go there a lot. It's because if someone's at a recovery center on a Friday, Saturday night,
optimizing.
Yeah, there's probably a part. There's a part of them as a person that likes improve, optimize, that type of thing. So it's just putting yourself in a space to network with like-minded people, and then just through conversations you get more ideas. Like a lot of successful people literally just make money through conversation.
How do you mean?
Well, you can set a conversation up with you have a potential business, I have a potential business. We have one conversation, and now we're partnering together. Yada yada yada. So a lot of business is just straight through conversation. Like I've met a few people at Soak and met with them. A little bit after meet with them, check out their business. Discuss both our businesses, see what either of us can do better, provide value. So just putting myself in a position where I can network and improve and just get ideas off other people in a similar kind of boat. So,
would you ever partner with someone that you meet there at Soak?
Saying meet someone at Soak. Partnering with someone, I meet someone at Soak, bit of a long shot, but I definitely would look at partnering with someone, because obviously if both of you have two different skill sets, then you can really take the business off to the next level. So definitely having partnerships inside a business can 10x your business, or if you obviously find the wrong partner, can absolutely ruin everything. So it's a very fine line. And a lot of the biggest businesses, like you look at like the PayPal mafia with
What's that?
With Elon Musk. So when Elon Musk was building PayPal, there was like this thing called the PayPal mafia, and it was all of these all these young dudes getting together, building things, and now all of them are like ultra successful dudes, and they all partnered together at the start, built a business like that. So if you don't know, you can search up the PayPal mafia. You can see.
Did not know that.
Yeah, you can see what a real partnership looks like.
How would you filter? Because I'm sure there'd be many people that have skills that would benefit, let's say, your business. But then how do you protect against, let's say in the early days when you really want to get your business off the ground, not falling into the trap of taking on any partner that just has the skills on paper, but what if they've got great business skills, but their moral character is manipulative and maybe not so great?
I just think with a partner, it's almost like your literal partner, like your girlfriend or husband, whatever.
I've heard people say that. So like, how do you filter?
You just pretty much have to be on the same page. I feel like I'm not coming from any experience because I've never partnered with someone in a business, But from what I've seen, you just have to be on the same page with pretty much everything: lifestyle, morals, business understanding, where you're looking to go. All of those things have to come together. Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, this person's got the skill sets to do this, we should hire them. That's not an employee. You know, an employee is just someone who has the skill sets to the job, and that's it. You know, you're not actually, they don't have say in the growth in the business most of the time.
I always keep every time I see Newtonic pop up, because I follow their pages and stuff, bro. It's so funny seeing the dynamic between Chris and what's the other guy's name? James.
Yeah.
So funny seeing their dynamic, because I'm pretty sure they were mates before they started that business together.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's a very, very tight circle, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like it works well on the surface.
Yeah, and especially with someone like those two in that basket, when you both have two such big personal brands, you bring those two together. That's all. You know, it's just two people coming together and just creating like massive influence on a product.
So what are some other ideas you got at the moment?
So currently the business that I'm pivoting towards, I'm going to keep running Trainer Suite, but I'm pivoting towards a pay per lead model. Why this is more valuable for me and for the potential clients is I'm just pretty much delivering the service that the client wants, instead of without having to set the systems up for them, if that makes sense.
What do you mean?
So I'm going to have my own brand in whatever niche it might be. So let's use the debt niche, which it's not going to be the debt niche, but let's use that one as an example. Very much how I compare the market works. I'll have my own brand, and then I'll run traffic to that brand for people that want to help, consolidate their debt, fix their debt, whatever it may be. I'll then own that traffic and that data, and then I can then distribute that to different partners that I work with, so they can then service that client. So, it's a much better service for the client on the end as well, because they know they're getting a qualified lead. It's already there. I'm not having to, be like, we'll set this system up, and then they're not gonna understand how the ads are working. They're gonna be a bit confused. It just cuts all of that in half, and it's just a better experience for me as the agency owner, because I don't have to deal with all the issues with the client not understanding, not being able to set this up, this not working properly, and it's a better result on their half. Because, they're getting exactly what they want, qualified, ready to go, ready to buy. So,
what are some of your biggest learnings from the first few clients you got with Trainer Suite that when you look back on now, you don't want to repeat those same mistakes with the new agency?
Definitely. I think one of the biggest learnings I had, and this is a lot for like a lot of small businesses, just working with anyone. Because you don't have a pick of who you want to work with, anyone that comes along, like since I'm still running Trainer Suite, but when I have someone come along, the chances of, I think I've said no to probably 3 people out of a whole pool, and that was because...
Said no to me.
Yeah. Out of a massive pool, I said no to working with 3 people, and that's just because I said, it wouldn't work out, but, just taking anyone on to work with, absolute pain, because I know they're not going to be a good client, but I've got no say, I've got no business, so I need to get the clients in, and like I said, just having to help a client grow their business through different systems. A lot of the time, it can almost feel like you're an employee again, because you're almost a slave to that client, because they're paying you a monthly retainer. You're there to help them kind of as much as you want. You're obviously going to set your expectations, but you're there to help them. And so, some clients might need crazy amount of help. They might be like, what's going on here? Why isn't this performing? X, Y, Z. And then I'm almost in the same position. I'd almost rather be working a normal job, because it'd just be easy. I could just switch off. So those 2 learnings of just being able to set up the business model in a better way, and obviously being able to pick and choose who I actually work with. So
is there anything you would do different in terms of pricing and how you'd model that?
Definitely charge more. It's because I've actually been going through the $100 million offers book again.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
Do you have the actual book or audio?
Sorry, audio book. And this goes for everyone. The higher prices you charge, most of the time, the better quality of service the client will get. And that's for a few different reasons. One, there's more emotional investment on their side. There's more on the line for the client, so they're more proactive to actually take action, do whatever it may be to do. Two, it increases the perceived value as well, because it costs more. The perceived value is more, so then as a byproduct, the client will get more value. So those are the main two as well, and just then also with having high prices as well, you're not fighting a competition. You're not fighting on a race to the bottom of who can get the cheapest prices, who can do the biggest discounts. So that's the biggest thing as well, like pricing. Charge as much as reasonably possible, for best results on your end and the client's end as well. So
what do you feel like right now are your biggest weaknesses as a person that limit the flourishing of your business?
Probably time. Number one, time management and focus. And in fact, that's for a lot of people as well. That is something I'm dialing in. For some people, they might look at me and be like, they might see me as dialed in and locked in.
Nah.
Like,
no one.
No, they might see me as dialed in and locked in, because I can work for, I can locked in work for probably 5-6 hours a day, like focused in. But I'm trying to reach like 12 hours a day.
12 hours a day locked into work.
Locked in.
What do you mean? Like, do you mean locked in just like being very intentional with everything that happens, or locked into work?
Well, both. Like 10, 12. Well, that's how you get the most amount of done.
No. Hold on.
If you can get a full deep work session in, like if I can, work 10, 12 hours a day, I can then achieve in 1 week what it take 1 month for someone else to achieve. This is only
what you're saying.
This is only friendly.
Okay,
like
right.
Somewhat. This isn't. It's
like a sprint.
This isn't a lifestyle.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
All right, just for like a short.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think is a realistic time frame to set on that sort of intensity?
6 months.
What? What do you mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get better and better at
6
every
months,
day.
12 hours a day locked into work. Like this is what I think I'm probably not phrasing my question properly. Considering that there's also time you want to put aside for real rest and relaxation, or exercise, or socializing for social health, going to soak, which isn't work. Things like that, I'm assuming would still be in the schedule there.
I guess, yeah. Let's say 10 hours a day. Let's say 10 hours a day.
Even 10 hours is a lot.
10 hours is 6 till 4.
6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, I mean, but you're not factoring in self-grooming, food.
Taking a shit, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? So
I understand,
10
yeah.
hours, so 8 hours. 8 hours of
8
locked
hours
in
of
work.
locked in work.
Yeah, but
But
then the
I
rest
like-
of your time is very intentionally spent.
Yeah.
You mean like, it's very intentional. You're just getting distracted with. Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say 12 hours of
Well,
just
12 hours
work.
would be ideal,
You die. I don't think it'd be ideal. For
It'd be
quality
ideal
of...
for the amount you can get done. Quality of life might be like less,
Hmm.
but for the amount of work you can get done,
It's a good aspiration. Yeah, I can see that. It's a good goal to have.
kind of the reason why I have it is because it might be very hard to get there, but it'll always, if I can get, it'll push me if I can get 8 hours. That's really good, but it's going to keep pushing me to try harder and harder.
Knowing that you might fall a little bit short, if you set the goal higher, you'll probably get to, okay.
If I put 6 hours, I might only get 4 hours, which is,
That's fair. But then you could also argue that the more you get efficient with the time spent working, the less time you'll actually need to work.
Exactly.
Like, let's say your current efficiency, you want to go for 12 hours. Then if you just get more efficient, you maybe only need 8 hours.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the reason why I'm looking to work so much is because obviously I'm helping kind of build and develop this app. There's a massive learning curve to what I have to learn and the knowledge I have to have, where, like the amount of time I have to spend, or I don't have to spend, but the time I want to spend to as quickly learn these skills as possible is massive. If I'm only spending 3-4 hours a day, it's going to take me forever to get the skills to be able to fully be where I need to be.
Okay, I get, that makes, so you just spend as much time as you can every day just learning the skills and refining it.
And then also running my business as well. I still have to factor that in as well. Obviously growing my business.
So what does it look like right now? Monday to Friday on the coaching app with the company you're with?
Yep.
And then weekends is when you spend working on your own personal agencies? Or are you trying to just actually trying to do a little bit of everything every day?
Bit of both. So on weekends, I'll spend majority of time working on my business. Weekdays, I'll spend majority of time working on Core Coach. But just, if I try and get from 6 till 12 every day, locked in my Core Coach work. So that's 6 hours straight away, first 6 hours of the day. By like 12 p.m, might go to the gym or whatnot, do something else, come back, a few more hours of working on Core Coach, and then for the rest of the afternoon / night, then I have that time to then run my business and build things from there. But then it's the opposite on weekends. So on weekends, I'll spend most of my time working on my business, spend a little bit of time on Core Coach, but that's how I kind of structure things at the moment to kind of maximize my...
So one of your biggest personal shortcomings that would limit your business, you mentioned, is your time management.
Focus as well.
Focus. What would be number 3?
Knowledge, especially in knowledge in actually both the businesses, to be honest. So knowledge in a media buying aspect for my current business, and knowledge in a developing aspect for Core Coach as well. So that's a massive one. I'd probably put that as number 1, but obviously I need to get that knowledge. I need to focus on time management and focus as well. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's number 3. But yeah, just knowledge of what I need to know, kind of how to set things up, everything like that. But what about yourself? How do you feel how are you currently managing your time with obviously being a bit all over the place? Because, you might be working in the gym here and there. Is it what would be your ideal kind of time management / day almost?
I was thinking about this yesterday, just in terms of, where am I spending my time, and making sure that where I do spend my time, it's done intentionally and consciously. Because if I feel So one thing I was thinking about was, there's work, which I consider all those 3 things that I've got going on with regards to the managerial role, personal training business, and then the online community. Those 3 I just class under the same umbrella as work. So they're all work. And then outside of that, let's say general physical and spiritual health, and then relationships or relationship. That's 1. I swear to God. My relationship with my partner, which, does take up, obviously, I don't want to say does take up. It's it's taking up. You know what I mean?
Negative thing,
it's not a negative thing. I spend time with my partner consciously as often as I can. And for context, it's been 6-7 months, so it's still very fresh. And I'm very, very conscious that it's any relationship, or this is something I've come to the conclusion of over time, after many mistakes, that in the early days, that's when I should be investing the most time into it. But doing so in a way where I feel you don't want to invest time into your relationship and then on the back end feel resentful because I could have spent that towards work, which I'm realizing I might come off that way to my partner because she calls me out on it. So I'm trying to be very conscious about when I do spend time with her, hopefully trying to spend it more intentionally with her and not just being around her and then working.
Yeah.
which then I might class as, time spent, tick, which would screw me over down the track, and relationship is one of those things where it's going to be one of the greatest investments you make, and I'll happily probably sacrifice a little bit of time away from work to put into the relationship, because that's not even a sacrifice. It's in my eyes a necessary use of time. So learning to juggle and manage all of that, doing it intentionally, and then trying to spend more time going to the gym again these days hasn't been good. Not gonna lie. I trained 2 days ago and it felt nice. It was a 45-minute session, not even long, but it felt refreshing. But I know, you're probably training more than me as well right now. You're training quite often.
A little bit less than usual. So right now I'd probably put 4 or 5 days a week.
Little bit less than usual.
That's low. That's low for me.
4 or 5 days a week is low. So
4 days a week is low.
So ideally 6 to 7.
Oh, ideally 6. But it depends what kind of split you're running as well. Because what I found the most useful split, and like what I enjoy the most, was 3 days on, 1 day off. So it's almost like an 8 day, kind of cycle. Which then I don't really count it into like a week. So it's kind of hard to depend. And sometimes I will train twice in a day. I haven't been doing that much as of late. That just comes back to me like training a bit less and a time management skill. Like it's super hard to manage time, and especially if I've got a lot on with work wise, like sometimes it's quite bad. But I'll justify not training, to then work, which is a very very bad spiral to get into.
I think I'm realizing even if I'm not training as much as I used to, the biggest flaw has been not training as much, but then also letting my diet stray.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I trained 1 to 2 days a week, but then kept on top of my eating behaviors, that's actually okay. I'd be fine with that. I'd be more than happy with that, and it would serve its purpose as far as, maintaining strength, muscle, also just mental clarity, all the benefits that come from exercise. I'm content with 1 to 2 days a week, but my eating has been going out the window.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro! Last 2 weeks, I think it's like I don't want to say it, like some sort of fast food every night. Like dinner's been either Macca's, KFC, or Hungry Jack's. It's the holy one of those. One night was Carl's Jr., which honestly wasn't that great, but not good. And I justify it in the name of convenience, and oh man, horrible.
It actually is hard. Like now I've noticed, now that I'm working more and more and I've got more on my plate.
You just don't want to think about food. Like you don't want to think about preparing it. You just want to eat it. And
that's why I do meal prep. I found meal prepping is quite well. It works quite well. Yeah, but fine. I can understand why, once you get to a certain point, why would you spend time cooking?
I guess I'm just more highly functioning than you are at the moment. I'm just so busy. Can't waste time cooking.
No, but yeah, it's very hard, and it's very hard to fall down that trap of justifying work over health. Because that's where a lot of people are. Like there's more. I read some statistic recently. I don't know how legit it is, but it was like in America, there's more millionaires in America than people with six packs over the age of like a certain point.
I've heard that. Probably if it's true,
I reckon it'd be something to do with a certain age point as well. Because if you're over 30, because if you're under like 18, it doesn't count. Because some people should be skinny with abs anyway.
Right. Yeah, I see your point.
But like to a certain age bracket, over 30, there could be that's probably what it is. If you're over 30, there's probably more millionaires than people with a six pack, and that just shows that people,
It's not unbelievable.
Yeah, especially if it's net worth as well.
I was gonna say, if they're looking at net worth, then yes, it's believable. Because there's so many people that have just got their net worth up to $1 million because of property they've owned.
Yeah, you got a $600,000 property, you got a $50K car, yada yada yada, like $200K in your super.
Yeah, that's believable.
Yeah.
What else? What's on your mind?
Not terribly much. Just I don't know if you're looking to start a self-managed super fund, you can reach out to my brand.
Giving away your idea.
I'll cut that out.
What's the company? Okay, no. I was gonna say, what's the company called? Much else been on your plate lately? Even internally?
Probably not falling down the trap with relationship wise, because now I'm in a very much a focused state. Now I've kind of gone polar opposite of being in a relationship, spending so much time with a partner. Now I've gone completely opposite, not really spending time with anyone. So
I don't need a girl. Yeah. I'm a boss.
So
nice.
It's now being able to juggle. Now I'm kind of like need to put myself back in a position where I can still spend time with women and whatnot, rather than just being completely isolated and focused on working. I need to actively be like, okay.
Do you want to talk about your recent challenges with women?
Well, my cold approaching game.
You wanna share a little bit about your reflections about cold approaching, benefits, fears, challenges?
Well, I've never really had the cold approach in my life.
Yeah, they just flock to him.
But no, well, I've always been in situations where it's been really easy to start conversation in the gym, pretty much. Really easy to start conversation. So a cold approach, I've found that quite kind of hard because I just don't really know how to spark the conversation and whatnot.
These youngins.
So it's something that I'm actively having to work on and, gain more knowledge, and I have to just start gaining more experience and actually going out and doing it. So that's been something that, I wouldn't say it's been hard, but something I've been thinking about damn, if I want to I want to start cold approaching, but I just need to pretty much just start doing it and get more experience.
Little on my way here, I told you I was listening to a podcast, right? Chris Williamson's one. I can't remember the name of the guy he was interviewing, but he's some expert on relationships. He looks at it through a statistical and evidence-based lens. And they were talking about luck. And it reminded me of you because in the context of work, you always talk about this idea of, you don't just get lucky necessarily, but you put yourselves in positions where you're more likely to run into opportunities.
Yeah.
So in a sense, if you want to call it create your own luck, but you're putting yourselves in scenarios where it's more likely to happen.
Yeah.
Which just takes effort. And they were talking about that in the context of relationships. And there was some chick one of them was talking to, and she was struggling to find a partner on the online dating scene. And then he asked her, if I was a genie, what would be your top 3 wishes or qualities that you want in a partner? And the first thing she said was, he's got to be physically attractive. And it's, he didn't judge her. He was okay, yeah, let's say that's your top quality. And then when they observed what environments she's putting herself in where she could meet the person that she wants with that kind of quality, they realized that, the only thing she does, aside from work, is she goes to this women's only yoga club. And it's well, what do you expect? How are you going to meet the kind of person you want? And then, all they did was she signed up to I can't remember the name of the gym was Equinox, yeah, that gym. Where there's a bunch of dudes that will fit. And not to say that all those dudes are going to have the rest of the qualities that she would look for, but automatically there's a self-selection bias there where she's more likely to run into people that might meet her, what she's looking for, and create luck.
Yeah.
But do you find it's challenging right now to find spaces where you can filter and funnel out for people that you're more likely to want to be with? Because what spaces do you put yourself in right now? Soak?
I wouldn't say challenging.
Business ladies and soak.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's challenging finding places because I don't think it is. I'm just not actively putting myself in there.
Oh, so you just don't want to?
Kind of, because like I said, I'm very much focused on. I've gone polar opposite of just focusing purely on work and whatnot. That I'm just not really putting myself in a position to, start those conversations and whatnot. So I don't know. And then because the problem is I justified being well, why would I do that when I need to work? And I'm trying to get my funds.
Why don't you just try the supermarket?
Yeah, there's a couple baddies.
There's Audi, the IGA. There's pretty.
Couple baddies at the Audi.
Go up and
drop some game.
Just in case she hears this is Audi in what suburb?
Rana Hills.
Rana Hills. But that's an interesting one. If you don't want to, that's fine. And it's actually better that you probably don't want to.
But
not to actively ignore. Don't
but
actively avoid relationships.
Is it better or worse? Because then I have that conflict of being we now become pole opposite of just not really pursuing anything that comes my way. I'm just kind of it'd be fun, but I'm
I would like to think that if somebody did cross your path,
if it was
I don't think you would. I don't think you're so polar opposite right now that if something did cross your path, that you would be nah. I'm busy
if it was the right one, I'd definitely be okay.
yeah. So I think you'll be okay. I think once opportunity presents itself, and you've got beautiful eyes, there'll be many opportunities. But when it does, I don't think you'll shun it away.
Yeah.
Out of a fanatical obsession with work.
Yeah. I'm just not very much into that,
That's fine.
Not very much into that scene of just,
That's
hang
fine.
out, go and fuck someone,
What do you mean? Weren't you just last night with that? But no, that's a fair point, man. I think you'll be sweet.
Yeah.
But anything else?
I don't necessarily have that much. Like I said, I'm a pretty boring person right now. Just focusing on my work, trying to get my money up.
Ladies, he's wearing a $350,000 Rolex at the moment. So if you're interested,
350,000 dirham. Actually, no, not dirham. Rupee. Dirham's too much.
Is dirham more?
Yeah, dirham's like I don't know, like 40 Australian cents or something.
Right.
Or like US. I can't remember how much.
Still too much.
Yeah, like
rupees. $5.
But
very good.
well, anything else you want to drop the couple of viewers in here before we leave?
Not much, honestly.
Anything about the community you wanna pop in there?
No, I shared everything I wanted to share. I mean, it's still, I'm finalizing some of the stuff for the page right now. I realized I could change the name of the community. Anyway, so I'm doing like a whole revamp of the page that I had prior to this one. So that'll hopefully be done by this weekend, and hopefully he'll take me on as a client and assist me in putting up a paid ad. so yeah, I mean, I don't know, as far as, I don't know, no one's going to watch this, but the point being that, yeah, I'm going to try and hopefully get some advertising for it up just to get people into that 7-day trial. But if you did want to go find it, I don't know if you could find it even, but
you could have a link to this.
Yeah, I could have a link to it on there, but if people just go on like the school website and maybe just type it in, it's called Anchored in Reason. It might pop up or it might not because it's not a big enough community yet. I've got no idea, but yeah, not much else to say about that. Still just developing content, so it's still fresh. Yeah. Yourself, much to say about your agency idea?
Not very much. Just keep on the lookout for Core Coach if you are a fitness coach and you're looking to, take your fitness coaching business to the next level. Keep on the lookout for the app. It'll be coming out in a little bit of time, but it'll definitely be changing the game of coaches, and then also the kind of service you can provide to your clients as well. It'll definitely be changing that as well.
I've seen some of it. It's actually pretty G.
Yeah, so keep an eye out on that. But that's all I have.
Same, yeah. I think that's it's pretty good.
Thank you for watching in if you did. But
no, closing words? Guess not.
Yeah, I got nothing. All right.
I got no closing words either.
Goodbye, everyone.
Take care.